Well, in what was supposed to be a big clash of titans, South Africa made light work of Australia in winning the Lucknow one day by a comfortable margin of 134 runs. Put into bat by the Aussies. Maybe it's a wrong decision by the Aussies second time. Yeah, maybe the decision Cummins will live to regret. South Africa posted a huge 311 for 7 on the board. Quinton de Kock, yes, the 30-year-old mercurial batter wicketkeeper who announced his retirement recently was playing the knock of his life. Playing his final ODI World Cup, made a brilliant century, his second of the tournament, and got his team off to a flyer. Pauma and Rassi laid the foundation of the order, while Makram stuck a fine 50 to give South Africa's inning a further momentum. Yes, Glenn Maxwell, the part-time bowler, star with the ball, removed the Protea top order, while a late surge by Starks towards the end of the innings, including the big wicket of Miller, helped Australia to curb the free flow of runs. Not that it would have helped. Long after the start of the chase, the Australian order began to fall like a pack of cards. Yes, this is the same Australia that has won World Cup over and over again. Barring Marnus Labuschagne's 46, no one could put up a fight as both the Pacers spinners punched the Aussies. Every single bowler deployed by Pauma took wickets, and Ngidi and Rabada took 4 wickets between them, while spinners Maharaj and Shamsi took 4 apiece as well. Let's shift our focus to the big game today. Yes, at the Chepauk, Chennai, where the undefeated Black Caps take on the Bangladesh, who under Shakib will be looking to turn things around and grab some vital points. It's interesting. Let's welcome our 3 guests. Tasmin Granger, who's in the studios, who's cricket for Zimbabwe, played for 15 years, currently still a player. Dev Tyagi, who's a podcaster. Again, joining us is the skipper of the UAE team, Chaya Mughal. Chaya, let me start off by asking you, what can we expect from Daryl Mitchell in the game?
Well, Daryl Mitchell is best known for his powerful batting and his accurate medium pace bowling. The batting all-rounder, in fact, from the New Zealand, is in the prime form of his life, and he could bowl or bat at any given point of time. I think in this game also, whatever opportunities he's getting, he's going to maximize the opportunity. I think especially in terms of batting, getting those runs in the middle over will be the prime job for Mitchell in this game.
Well, interesting point you made, Chaya. How good has Mehdi Hassan's been? Can he impact today's game?
The bowling Miraz has always been the talk of the town ever since he made his debut. However, the batter Miraz, he is stamping his authority in the past few days, and the recent example was shown on Sunday. I feel when New Zealand would want to go for the shots in the later part of the inning, Miraz would be very helpful, who has shown us in previous few games that he is able to take wickets during that course of the game. And of course, he's handy while he comes to bat as well.
Well, Chaya, one interesting question the fans have up for you is that last time we had a 200 400 game with 2 teams scoring 200 each. But at the same time, do you think, can this improve in today's, can it become a high scoring game?
Well, with so many strong bowling spin options, I think the pitch at the Chepauk Stadium is going to favor the Bangladeshi bowlers. However, I also feel that New Zealand would want to go with the same momentum that they have started in this tournament, and they would want to make it 3 victories out of 3. The last 8 ODIs played at this venue, we have seen 4 wins for the teams who are batting first and 4 for the teams who are chasing down the score. I think 300 would be at par score at this venue today.
In fact, 300 is the score that the fans are looking at. Yes, it's a pass score, and in the last few matches, things have changed from 250, as we keep on saying. 300 is the new 250 of the ODIs. Well, we also have an international, former international West Indian player, Raed Emrit, who joins us. We have to ask him the same question where Shaya had answered very pointedly. How comfortable New Zealand will be entering the game, knowing that they are the table toppers, and what do you think will be going in their minds and the dressing room? Right?
Heading into today's match, they've been table toppers, but I still think they won't be overconfident. Bangladesh isn't a team that will walk over. The conditions will suit Bangladesh, but having beaten England in the first game, New Zealand will definitely be very confident going into the first game.
What about Kiwis? Who's impressed you the most in terms of the batting? Which is the name that comes to your mind? Right?
Ritan Das has shown that he's very explosive and he's one of the best batters in Bangladesh at the moment. I think he'll be the key for them making a big score. You can't forget Mushfiqur Rahim, as well as Shakib Hassan. They are the ones who are the mainstay of the batters. If Mehdi as well comes good, but they're very inconsistent. Their batting has been very up and down, but they need the senior guys to come good in this match against New Zealand.
Well, we've been impressed with the batting thus far. What about the bowling? Trent Bolt just requires 2 more to become one of the 200 wickets and one of the more successful bowlers. Your views, Raed?
I think Trent Bolt will definitely get his 200 wicket in this match. 2 wickets off that 200 target. If he can get the ball to swing early. Also, a lot of cutters he bowls in the middle overs as well as at that. I think he's definitely going to get his 200 wicket. He deserves it, and he's going to get it in this match for sure.
Well, absolutely, he's going to get this much for sure. Let's come back to our studio where 2 of the guests who have joined us, and we'll be talking more about it. Let's reach out to Tasmin. Tasmin, what do you make of the game today?
Definitely, I believe we've got ourselves set up for another big game. I am totally with Riyadh. You can't write off Bangladesh just yet. They are a formidable team, and they do not have a win thus far in the tournament. So they definitely will be gunning for the Kiwis today. But obviously, a couple of things to look at. Obviously, Shakib hasn't really come to the party yet. So he'll be looking to put some runs on the board today. And I think a lot of key players in that Bangladeshi squad as well for me. Mushfiqur Rahim, if you get him and Shakib together, they're bound to perform and give you something special.
What about the New Zealand? I'm going to toss this question to Dave. Dave, when you look at the kind of batters we have, and the highest strike rate is largely for Sri Lankan batters, and you don't find many of the Kiwis out there, but let's look at their impact. Despite the fact that they're not in the top strike rate, they still have big hitters, people with big runs. Your views?
Yeah, so when you have a formidable top order with Devon Conway in form and Rachin Ravindra having recently come to the party, you get that new boost, realizing the fact that, of course, down the order, there is a very stable and consistent performer in the form of Tom Latham, who's been the skipper, the victorious skipper,
right?
Who has 2 wins under his belt.
Right.
And in this particular game, I think he's going to be a very key player because his record speaks for itself against Bangladesh. Right. 530 plus runs. And his average is north of 45, north of 48, I beg your pardon, against Bangladesh. And he's made 2 of his ODI centuries against Bangladesh, having scored 7 so far.
But the spinners aren't bad either for New Zealand. Do you want to just talk about Santner?
Yeah, absolutely. Mitchell Santner, who right now needs 2 more wickets to actually complete 100 wickets in one-day internationals, is the clear man in form. He became, in the victorious contest against Netherlands, the first New Zealand bowler to take a fifer in a World Cup match, and what a terrific performance that was. He also hung in there with the bat. Just the kind of player who, I would rather say, sadly, goes under the radar a bit. Yes. But I think not that he would mind that, because the Kiwis play like that.
Absolutely.
They're a little underrated.
Tasmin, one important factor that we've got is that South Africans and Kiwi are not one of the bigger sides who are seen as the most decorated, but at the same time they come out to be most effective? If you look at the table and the way things are progressing, Australia looks like they're packed off. Do you write them off, and do you say that these two teams are likely to be the top 5 in the last stages?
I wouldn't write anybody off just yet. Cricket is a funny game.
Yeah.
It can fall in anyone's court on any day. But definitely New Zealand and South Africa are looking strong. You still have the likes of, I'm going to go with Devon Conway for New Zealand. He's coming off a big 152 run score in his previous game. So yeah, the challenge is still on. It's still game on. Anything can happen at the end of the day. What happens if Bangladesh pulls off a shocker for us today? You never know where it might leave New Zealand on the table as well as they go through.
But let's look at the table right now. You have the top 2 teams. When you also look at the head-to-head, again, New Zealand is evenly placed. You don't have to work too hard. But when we look at something like the top table standing, you have New Zealand topping the charts. You have India as number 2. And you have Australia languishing at somewhere at the 8th, 9th, or perhaps 10th. Now, how do you justify, do you see Australia making a comeback and being at the top 4?
Yeah, it's going to
Statistically speaking.
Okay, statistically speaking, personally, it's looking like a very, very, very steep uphill battle for them, to be honest with you. And the thing is, at the end of the day, the way this game works, anything can happen to the top 3 teams, to be honest with you. 3 games still left in hand. And I think that's where the deciding factor of net run rate will come into play. It's definitely looking like a bit of a dark shadow hanging over Australia right now.
Absolutely. We can't help but discussing the fall of the mighty Australians, what they did yesterday, losing 6 catches. I mean, when was the last time you saw Australians missing out on 6 catches, and including a couple of dollies?
Yeah, definitely. Bavuma was put down twice before they got him on the 3rd time. And he did look a bit shaky, to be honest with you. His innings wasn't very structured for me, Temba Bavuma. And you find that against teams where you drop a batter, he goes on to score runs. Even if he doesn't go on to score runs like Bavuma did yesterday, he goes on to play a brilliant supportive role with Quinton de Kock alongside him. So it goes down to the case of, catches win matches. And that I did mention it yesterday in studio. The team that will be able to do the basics for the longer period of time is definitely the team that will find themselves on top.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dev, let's talk about the apple to apple, the first 3 batters of both teams, and then let's look at the top 3 bowlers from both. Let's do a comparative analysis of the both. Beginning with the batters.
Beginning with the batters of New Zealand, Devon Conway is definitely in the form of his life right now, and he's significantly risen in his craft. In the past 3 years, so to speak, he has amazing numbers against Bangladesh. Sachin Ravindra is really coming to the party, so there's not much to speak about where the ODI format is concerned. But with Kane Williamson now apparently reported to play in this game, as what the news updates were saying, I think it's just going to be a massive boost to their chances. On the other hand, I would say Liton Das holds the key for Bangladesh. Let's not forget that he comes into this game at the back of a very valiant 50 in the last game, and of course they have, I would say, one of their most critical batsmen at this point in time is Mehdi Hassan Miraz, the very capable all-rounder. We know him to be a very capable spinner, but he was also amongst the runs, and I think he's trying to come to the party and trying to complement Shakib as best as he can.
Just imagine the New Zealand walks into this World Cup, play their first 2 games without their top 2 skipper and the performers. What do you make of this team? Do you think they've got enough backup firepower and ammunition to take on any of the bigger teams?
Yes, they definitely do, and I think that's the entire philosophy of New Zealand, that it's basically different horses for different courses, but on a day where you have to win the Grand Prix, your horse is going to go faster than the Ferrari. And speaking of Jimmy Neesham, for instance, let's not forget his contribution in the last World Cup, the final, the 97 unbeaten runs. And he is right now, I think, in the closing stages of completing 1,500 ODI runs.
Right.
He can definitely throw his bat around. He's quite brilliant with his bowling economy is just around 6. And he has that match-winning experience. You also have players like Glenn Phillips, who can really up the ante of runs should he play today.
Right.
And let's not forget there is Mitchell Santner.
Yes.
And Santner just cannot be discarded. Santner's white ball capabilities actually deserve more mention than they are getting right now.
Absolutely. In fact, the whole team deserves much more recognition, applause than they actually get it. Let's take a step back and understand the structure of New Zealand cricket. Unlike England and India, where you've got multiple levels of competitive cricket coming at the same time, you've got coaches, you've got infrastructure, you've got funding, everything put together. This is a place where you've got a core team of few hundred players, and they just stick around it. You've been a part of the New Zealand cricket. You've been there. You've seen that. And very closely, you've seen the way how the structure follows. You want to take our viewers through how exactly they manage to keep their core, retain their core, and despite failures, they still go with them. You want to talk about it?
Yep, definitely. I think obviously they do have a structure in place, maybe not as many leagues. They don't have the 100 under them or WBBL as Australia does. But I definitely believe where New Zealand seems to be getting it right for years and years is they've managed to have a foundation system. The foundation of their cricketing system is brilliant. They have recruitment from the youngest age possible you could possibly think. So they're not grooming players from high school stage or grooming players from possibly university stage, but you have kids that they've watched come up through the system as time has gone on. So I definitely think that's a very, very key part, because automatically you have a larger pool of players to select from. And it's evident in their current team. Like you said, two of their biggest openers, two of their biggest batters not currently in the squad, but the squad is still managing to put on a good show. So you take that and you put possibly Kane Williamson back inside the squad, and you're bound to have an explosive show more than what they've actually put on before.
Absolutely. So what do we make of the show today? An explosive, Dave? What are your views on the first 10 overs that the New Zealanders are going to play as compared to Bangladesh?
I think the New Zealanders, knowing them a bit as we all do, they would want to apply the customary focus and balance between the aggressive side and just put some caution out there, because of course they are coming up against a very strong spin attack, and this is a subcontinental force. Even though Bangladesh, of course, not playing in home conditions, they are still playing in the subcontinent. And you have spinners like Shakib, who would be wanting to come to the party. As I said, there's Mehdi Hassan Miraz, who's been amongst the wickets. He's taken it 3 for earlier in the game. And that is why I think the role of somebody like Devon Conway becomes important, because in the 3 ODIs...
I will just hold you there on Devon Conway. Just on the screen, if you see, he's got the 10th strike rate, one of the top 10 players, but languishing somewhere deep down at the 10th. Despite the fact that there is no other Kiwi batter out there, Rachin also makes it to the cut. But despite that, you see there is a formidable contribution. You want to talk about the contribution done by the 5th, 6th and the 7th batter as well, Dave?
Yeah, can I just finish that point that I was saying on Conway? So he needs to just up his game against spinners a bit, because he's got I think around under 100 runs from 3 games against spinners, whilst he is very, very comfortable when he comes against the medium pacers, having scored 146 runs. So there's of course that the differential plays up in the strike rate. But the number 5, 6 and 7, that's when the Glenn Phillips of the world, the Jimmy Neeshams of the world, they come to the party. They have played Bangladesh recently. And in fact, we must remember that recently there was a complete team package that came to play in taking that 2-0 ODI series win held in Bangladesh by New Zealand.
Absolutely. And we want to talk about the strike rate. Despite the top 2 players in the top 10 strike rate, they still managed to put up a formidable score. Your views on that?
New Zealand's gameplay is also about rotating the strike. Such an important part of the game. I wish teams like West Indies, who are unfortunately not playing in this World Cup, would have taken a lesson from that. So when the big shots are not coming and they have the depth in batting, because somebody like a Santner will come in at 7 or 8, they have that, they just tick on the strike, and the scorecard is never devoid of the vital runs that are needed at that point in time.
Right. Tasmin, let me throw a curveball at you. If you were to coach, and if you were the coach of Bangladesh team today and you wanted a win under their belt, what would you go and speak to the team, the core team and the other bowlers?
Definitely, I think, like David said, spin is going to play a very big part of this game as well. So I'll probably walk into the locker room and let the boys know to play the most boring type of cricket they've ever experienced in their lives. Because at the end of the day, it is 50 overs. That is 300 balls possibly on the card. And for me, this game is going to be about who's the most patient and who's willing to grind out there and show a bit of grit.
Are you saying that there's going to be a lot of rotation of strikes as compared to the long hits and the strike rate of maybe 150, 200, 300 for individual batters. You want to expand on that more, a little more?
Yes, definitely. So the key points for me are going to possibly be whereby batsmen, like Dave said, keep rotating the strike.
Right.
So even if it does dry up, even if the boundaries do dry up,
yes,
the moment you take 6 singles, you back up to a net run rate of 6 runs per over. But when you find guys constantly looking for the big shot, that's when chances will always come out. So hence the reason for the term play the most boring cricket you could possibly think of. You okay as a bowler, as a spin bowler, going at possibly 4 runs and over in this case, because the batter will try something. It is 50 over cricket at the end of the day.
I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt you here. Do you realize this is a complete opposite theory to the baseball cricket?
Definitely.
Do you want to expand on that?
So what it is for me personally is it's not a case of let's go out there and let's take on the Bangladeshi bowlers. I have not written Bangladesh off personally because we know what they're capable of. We've seen what Mendy and Miraz are out here doing. So the first team to lose focus and try and go after the next, for me, and not execute their current plans, will definitely be the ones to make the first slip up. And we've seen again yesterday what cluster wickets can do to change a game. We've seen Stark came out with Labuschagne and they try to put on a good partnership and they try to steer the game back in Australia's court. But we mentioned this to say that up front, early wickets play a very big part. We're not saying we're not writing off the seamers from Bangladesh, but possibly maybe New Zealand's got the tenacity to hold it out for the first power play till the field is spread. But then when the field is spread, that's when the game really begins. That's when the grind goes on. That's when we want to see guys running those twos, running the sweepers, pushing the sweepers hard at the end of the day. Because dot balls will play a big part in it. They will put pressure leading to the end of the order. As well as you need wickets in hand to be able to accelerate. If you do not have wickets in hand, it's impossible to accelerate towards the back end of the overs.
Well, that's an important theory. We also have to talk about the opening blast that these teams have. Suddenly you see short ball being hit for sixes, and there's a lot more connectivity as compared to the earlier part. You want to talk about the first 10 overs comparison between the two teams, the openers and the one down? Tasmin?
Yeah, definitely. So we've seen how it's been going for both teams. Personally, I believe that maybe New Zealand can do a bit better in this department, most probably. Maybe look to put the pressure up front earlier on the Bangladeshi bowlers. They do have the experience facing the likes of Trent Boult from their own squad. Brilliant pacer, raw pace, absolute swinger of the ball. So I think the moment they can possibly look to score that 5 to 6 runs in singles, a bowler will try to look for something else, look for something different. Like you said, the short ball, we've seen against South Africa, the short ball being put away early up front by Bavuma, as well as Quinton de Kock. So I think where they might get it right, possibly, is obviously look to get them coming forward. I wouldn't be able to tell you much about what the pitch might be doing today, but always know someone trapped on the front foot, there's more chances to get them out. LBW, Bold, beat Kut behind as well. We've seen a couple of missed drives yesterday. Warner hit it up straight back to mid-wicket, looking for something because there was nothing off Ngidi.
Well, that's an important point. Before we wrap this show, I'm going to go back to Dave. Dave, the final question. Who is the favourite today and why?
Favourites, New Zealand.
Yes.
Why? Because they know how to keep their cool under pressure. And we've seen that countless number of times. And of course, they have the depth. And of course, there is something called as a statistical analysis. They have won every single ODI outing that they have faced Bangladesh against in the World Cup. Having said that, they may not want to definitely take batsmen like somebody like a Najmul Shanto from the opposition camp any lightly. Remember, these are players who can really change the game around, a very fantastic young talent. A fourth of his 32 ODI innings have actually yielded a 50-plus score. I was just reading 33 runs is all he needs, the left-hander, to go past 1,000 ODI runs. So New Zealand would be wanting to tread cautiously against the so-called weaklings. And yeah, I think we should have a cracker of a game ahead.
Well, we should have a cracker of a game. The New Zealand Kiwis are looking as firm favourites. Again, they are the table toppers.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.